Go, Spidey! Spidey to the rescue!
Rally in Edinburgh a year ago last October. I saw George Knight standing.
What do we want? What do we want? What do we want it? What do we want? What do we want it? What do we want? What do we want it?
Absolutely fine. I want us to be equal with Parliament that rule, you know, not each other as it is currently. Scotland has no say, and England makes the rules up here. I want us to be equal where they can make their decisions and we can make our decisions. And that draw would be very happy with for me, because it's not about winning or losing here. It's about having our rights and having equality.
So union in name only, but one party of that so-called union can overrule the other three.
Correct.
It's not really a union, it's not many
Find the Tory, that'd be sort of not be able to play here, wouldn't they? Did you find the Tory? We signed up two of them with the Independence Foundation because we would ask.
I have done it.
But you're not sure. You don't know.
Break them up totally.
Oh my god, the thing is that just because the states is giving that people.
It is. It was.
Okay, then we'll just go around.
September, yes.
Good, thanks.
So cool to see you like this.
What do we want? Independence! Do we want it? No! What do we want? Independence! Do we want it? No! What do we want? Independence! Do we want it? No! What do we want? Independence! Do we want it? No! What do we want? Independence! Do we want it? No! What do we want? Independence! Do we want it? No! What do we want? Independence! Do we want it? No! What do we want?
Everybody else, hold! 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 Good gap.
Yeah, there's Billy Dickens, there's Rumi, and yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see.
It's an army, hold on to your guns, you need them against these. One good
Hello. Hello everybody. If there's any speakers, could you come up to the All Under One banner table and introduce yourself please, and we'll get the rally started in a couple of minutes. Thank you. Just on that. Is George Kelvin here?
Oh, hey. I love that, you know, hey.
See you right first, George.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Is Douglas Chapman here?
Everybody can move in a wee bit. Everybody come in a bit.
Can I ask if any of the speakers who are down to speak, could you come up to the All Under One banner table here, please? Johnny Cobb here.
Alright, just come in and belong now.
Come in, move forward please. Fill the space at the back and just come forward a little bit. Everybody. Okay, right, okay, we're asking you just to, there's a banner there, All Under One banner. Could you just stay behind it please? The people will just have to fill that space at the back as they come in. Right, are they still coming in? We'll get George up first. Oh, you'll be there at the end of the show.
Hello everybody, thank you for turning up today on a March for Independence to our Parliament. So the Yes Bikers have asked us if you can get this message down to everybody on the roads to come off the roads, get into the Parliament grounds now, and hopefully the Yes Bikers can come down and rev it up
So if you can get that message out, stewards and everybody off the roads, in the Parliament grounds, so the Yes Bikers come down. The rally will start soon. Thanks everybody, well done!
Okay folks, I think we'll just get started. I just want to echo Keir and Neil's thanks for everybody for turning out today. Despite the best efforts of Edinburgh City Council, we will not be silenced, we will not be sidelined. The independence movement is back on the streets. All under one banner is back. This is the biggest demonstration that we've had since the start of the pandemic. And it's brilliant to see you all here. And we're going to give notice to Edinburgh Council. Next year we will be marching through Edinburgh, and we will take no for an answer. We will march on the streets of Edinburgh. We will not be silenced. We will not be sidelined. Our voice will be heard. Anyway, thanks a lot folks. I'm going to start off by asking a well-known independence activist and supporter and journalist, George Kerrivan, to come up and address the rally. Thank you, George.
St. John, you're a natural. St. John.
Good afternoon. Fellow nationalists, here's the first thing. The ground you are standing on is owned by the people of Scotland. Priti Patel and the Parliament corporate body will never stop us, any Scot who wants to, demonstrating here about anything they want to. Fellow nationalists, so we're all, every one of us, a nationalist. Whatever party we come from or not. I have a warning. We are about to see a horrible, horrible winter. The first of many horrible winters. People in Scotland are going to die. Old people are going to die of hypothermia. People are going to die because they can't feed themselves. The price of gas has gone up threefold in Europe in the last year. It's gone up twice in America. Gas prices have shot up everywhere. And don't listen to what they say on the BBC. I know you never listen to what they say on the BBC. But
Don't believe in the BBC!
Absolutely. But gas prices are not going down. Their gas prices have gone up and they'll stay up, which means old people are going to die in Scotland. Now why is that tragic? It's tragic twicefold. It's tragic because our elderly are in peril. But it's tragic because this is a country that is full of energy. We are one of Europe's greatest energy resources. Now there's a debate to be had about how we move to carbon zero. But let's say at the moment, let's understand at the moment, nobody needs to die in Scotland of being cold because this is the energy capital of Europe. When you go home tonight and you turn the gas on, here's some interesting things. When you turn your gas on, it's come through a pipeline. The pipeline in Scotland gives you your gas, is owned by the Abu Dhabi Investment Fund. Abu Dhabi, that wonderful paragon of democracy. Why is the pipeline owned by Abu Dhabi Investment Fund? Because for the last 20 years we've given away everything in Scotland to foreign corporate interests. The pipeline, your gas pipeline that turns your cooker on, gives you your house, your heating, is also half owned by the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund. I have nothing against Ontario teachers. I'd be happy if Scottish teachers owned the pipeline, but they don't. Foreign corporate entities own everything under your feet, practically. There they go. Excellent. Give them a cheer. Yay! And they're still coming. Yay! Yay! I think they heard that in the palace. Yay! Now here's the thing, fellow nationalists. Where did those bikers get the petrol to put in their tank? Most of the petrol that you put in your car or your motorcycle is refined at Grangemouth. Grangemouth Ineos plant is half owned by PetroChina, the largest Chinese energy group, the largest energy group in Asia. Why do the Chinese government, petrol company, own Grangemouth? Everything to do with our energy infrastructure is foreign owned. One of the reasons we want independence is so we can have our energy back. If we don't have it back, then more old age pensioners will die every winter from now on. That's not... Hey. If we want to control our energy, if we want to make the carbon transition, we have to own it and control it. Now I think the importance of today, it's a united front. We're here from all parties and none, and we're all here because we share a common vision. So, no sectarianism. But I'm going to say this. I'm not an SNP member, but I want to congratulate the members of the SNP and the conference of the SNP for voting for a Scottish National Energy Corporation. We need a Scottish National Energy Corporation, and all power to the rank and file members of the SNP and the SNP conference that voted for that. I also want to thank the members of the Green Party in Scotland. The Green Party and the Green Party conference voted for a Scottish National Energy Corporation. That's what we need if we are to control our own energy assets. I want to point to the SNP manifesto. When I was a member, I used to read assiduously. The SNP election manifesto promised a Scottish National Energy Corporation. Good on that manifesto. So I'm not making any sectarian comments, I'm just saying that if you believe there should be a Scottish National Energy Corporation, as do the rank and file membership of the SNP and the Greens, then we need to tell the people in here. Finally, here's the obvious point. If we don't get independence, we can't control our energy. If we can't control our energy, our gas, our renewables, if it's still foreign owned, then more people will die in Scotland of hypothermia in the country that dominates Europe's energy production. That is what you need to tell people on the doorsteps. Finally, fellow nationalists, I've been told that there's been a count and there was some 5,000 people on the demonstration today. Give that a cheer. Next year, double, treble, quadruple.
Thanks very much to George there for that wonderful speech. Telling it like it is, of course. Our next speaker is Tony Cox from the Scottish Unemployed Workers Network. Welcome, a big hand to Tony, go on.
Hello Edinburgh. As is my wont on these occasions, I bring fraternal greetings from Scotland's Yes City, Scotland's Red Yes City, Dundee. We were the capital of opposition to bear together, to the attempt to try and hitch us and keep us hitched to a union of death, dust and ashes. That is what we are actually hitched to. This is not a union, this is a hostage situation. And I live in a city that's been under siege for over 100 years. Since the early 1920s, when Dundee had the honour of kicking Churchill's Tory arse, his fat arse, out of Dundee. On that occasion, the Secretary of the Dundee and District Jute and Flax Workers Union, John Symes, declared that Dundee had made history and purged itself. We will do that again. Because on September 2014, we made history in Dundee. The whole of the world was actually looking at Dundee on that occasion as the place that actually stuck two fingers up to the Tories and better together. But we will make history again. Dundee has not finished speaking. We will have the last word. And we should remember that when Churchill was kicked out of the hands of a so-called Scottish prohibitionist. He was a man called Edward Scrimger. And Scrimger is a famous name in Dundee because the Scrimgers were the hereditary constables of Dundee. And the first hereditary constable was appointed by William Wallace, during the wars of independence against the attempts by Edward I to turn Scotland into a province. And we know what happened there. So Edwin Scrimger in 1923 went into that election calling for not only freedom for Ireland, but freedom for Scotland. And at the last election rally before Churchill, I was actually booted out on November the 14th, 1922. He was absolutely and utterly aghast at the demands that were actually coming from the floor and the cheers that were going to the rafters when Edwin Scrimger called for Scottish national independence and home rule. So let's get this idea that the idea of independence is a new idea. It's an idea that's been there within the Scottish Commons, within the Scottish working class for generations and generations. And let's make this point to Scottish Labour. You are actually spitting in the face of the constituency you claim to represent, because the Scottish working class, time and time again, have declared that their fundamental will of the Scottish working class is for independence. And we know what the hell we are fighting against. We are fighting against an organisation that represents the class interests of the Brit nationalist establishment. Boris Johnson heads a death cult. They're a death cult. We should have went into that COVID crisis saying that every single Scottish life is precious to us. We're going to go for a COVID suppression policy. Not one single death. We're closing the borders. We're going to make an attempt to try and maintain a zero death policy with regards to COVID. And if we had done that, we would be halfway to independence by now. It's not too late. It's not too late. We know what we're fighting against, but we have to also know what we are fighting for. But before I turn to that, I'd also like to make the point that I'm up here representing the Scottish Unemployed Workers Network. Well, the Scottish Unemployed Workers Network was based in and around Dundee. And we came to hit the headlines in 2014 on the basis of an anti-sanction campaign in Dundee that was highly successful. And we were a small group made up of ordinary men and women from throughout Dundee who were on the brew, who were basically at the sharp end of the sanctions regime and at the sharp end of Tory welfare reform. And we turned around the situation in Dundee to the extent that we had one of the lowest sanction rates anywhere in Scotland because of our frontline advocacy. We literally saved hundreds of lives. Because put it this way, Dundee is not just Scotland. It's not just Scotland's yes city. It's also the capital of drug deaths in Scotland. It's also the capital of suicide in Scotland. More of our young people, predominantly young men, are throwing themselves from the Tay Bridge almost on a weekly basis at one point during the high point of the suicides in Dundee. Now, there's an attempt by the media to actually paint the drug deaths as a result of individual choice. It's bad morals on the part of the so-called junkies, that's what they're called. But the reality is, when you have huge rates of drug deaths actually happen to the scale that they're actually happening in Dundee, and the high rates of suicide that you've actually got in Dundee, that is actually a mark of a society under fundamental stress and pressure. So Dundee has been under siege, as I say, since the day that Churchill was kicked out of office. And he made a pledge on that day. He said, with my passing, industry will wither in Dundee and the grass will grow in the streets. And that has been the situation. We are a hell of deindustrialisation. The mills are shut. The engineering places are shut. And we have been left with absolutely nothing. The reality is that the only chance that we've got is independence. And that is why so many ordinary people, some of those people who have got nothing, some of those people who are at the very bottom of Scottish society, came out in their thousands to actually vote for independence in Dundee in September 2014. Can you start winding up, please? Start winding up. So again, I will wind up. I'll wind up on these words. I'm speaking here on behalf of Scottish Unemployed Workers Network. We are not as active as we once were. And I just want to say this, that these remarks that I've made are in the memory of the comrades that we have lost. We are a small group, but we lost too many people and too many comrades. To the memory of Abe Mitchell, a class fighter, the ex-ordinaire from the Stobbswell area, who died since 2014. Of Jen Sparks from Perth, who established Perth Against Welfare Sanctions, who died as a result of a drug overdose. And we also have Chris Neal, who was actually an Englishman who came to Dundee, made Dundee his home, and fought repeatedly on behalf of some of the poorest people in Dundee, and actually died of a heart attack. And finally, for Hazel Duff, the soup dragon, the soup lady, who used to keep us supplied with soup when we were outside the brew in Dundee. This is an organisation of 30 or 40 people. We've lost too many people over the last few years. I don't want to lose any more. And the only way that we will prevent further unnecessary death is to get out of this a union of dust and ashes. Scotland free or a desert.
Thanks, Tony. Just before we announce the next speaker, can we get a wee shout out or a big shout out for the Rangers and Celtic supporters united for independence? Represent the best of Scotland.
And it's a quick announcement from Robert from Embrace Our Parliament.
Yeah. Okay, so you might have heard about this thing called the Holyrood Protest Ban, which is a new law that's going to give the Scottish Parliament buildings and grounds the same status as fast lane nuclear base. So basically, just to be here is going to be a criminal offence. And this is a new law that's been brought in by the Scottish Parliament corporate body, who asked Westminster, this is an Indian majority committee asking Westminster a new law to suppress protest at the Scottish Parliament. Not a very good look, in my opinion. And it seems like that some of the people in the building behind us have forgotten whose Parliament this is. Whose Parliament? Yeah, so, yeah, just to say, on Saturday the 2nd, which is the day after the new law comes into effect, we're going to do an action and make a ring of people around Parliament to defend our right to protest at the Scottish Parliament. So, check out the Facebook page, Embrace Our Parliament. Come along on the 2nd, next Saturday, 11 o'clock, and we'll make a big ring around Parliament. Okay, that's it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, folks, next speaker up is Douglas Chapman from the Scottish National Party. On you come.
Thank you very much, and great to see such a fantastic crowd. It's, I think if Sean was here, this would, from my position anyway, this is a sight for sore eyes. So thank you very much for turning up and marching. I think the message is clear that Scotland is on the march, that Scotland wants our independence, and we want it as soon as we possibly can get it. Now, there's a lot of debate on whether we should have a referendum, not a referendum, and various other options. But it's clear to me that even if the referendum was held yesterday, held today, or held tomorrow, we still need a crack at a campaign actually to get Scotland into that state where we're ready to move on to independence and assume control of our own nation. And you have kick-started that process today with this march. I know there have been other marches, there have been other events, but strength of your elbow, because we need more of this. We need more of this on a regular basis, and I'm sure that's the plan for the organisers here today. But never forget as well that we need the flag wavers, we need the bikers for yes, we need the marchers to actually heighten the awareness of people across the country that the independence march is back on. And you know, we've had a really tough 18 months with COVID and Brexit and everything else that's been thrown at us, but we need to get this show back on the road, and we need to make sure that our people are ready to vote yes if the referendum comes along anytime soon. So thank you for being here, and if you were out on the Believe in Scotland stalls last week, then that's the kind of activity we need to keep going. Now, I'll just make 3 short points. That was one of them. So I'll just say as well that I think we've all got heroes within the movement, whether you're a member of a political party or none. One of my heroes was Margaret MacDonald, and Margaret was sadly taken away from us before the last referendum in 2014. She died in April. So what I would say to you is, think back to these heady days when we were out campaigning in 2014. What was Margot's message then? It was to make sure that every single one of us spoke to our neighbours, our friends, our workmates, and made that change in their minds that they could move to yes. And what we need to do as well is make sure that not only do they move to yes, but we pick up all the soft no's that are out there. People's minds have changed over the last 10 years or so. They're in a different place from where they were at that stage. And I would say that that is the one way we can make sure that we move from where we are just now to a yes vote. Remember as well, when Margaret was talking about that, we were on 28% of the vote saying yes, and we go up to 45. We're now at 50 plus, and then what we need to do is make sure that that 50 plus gets up to 60 and beyond, so we need to take the majority of people in Scotland with us as we move towards independence. The third point is just about positivity. Because you've all come here today with a positive frame of mind. You've all been out in the Edinburgh sunshine and enjoying a march. But we need to think about how we present the case for independence on social media and when you're speaking to your pals. Because, you know, I look at every tweet that I put out, every Facebook post, and I think, if somebody's reading this and they're not quite sure about voting for independence, how does this come across to them? So I would just ask you to make sure that your message is positive. The unionists are throwing every possible negativity into the debate as they possibly can. We've got a government in London who are giving us negatives by the barrel load. You know, empty shelves on the supermarkets, queues piling up for people, for cars getting petrol, and money being taken out the pockets and purses of every family across Scotland, and the young people in our country being taxed to the hilt. These are all the things that we're getting from the union, all the negativity. What we need to do is give a message of hope and positivity to the people of Scotland. Finally, I would say that somebody once said that Scotland was a cause unwon. And, you know, that's exactly the position we're in. It's not a lost cause, it's a cause unwon. And it's time for us to take up the cause, to support our country, and to win back our independence. Thank you very much.
Next up we've got Ron Kelly, Scottish author. Ron.
Fellow nationalists, I've written 12 books and they're all Brammers. But the ones in the most recent years have all been to do with Scottish independence and perfidious Albion. Whether it's been the use of dark money to interfere with open democracy in Scotland, the use of the state broadcaster to support unionism and badmouth Scottish independence, the use of taxpayers' money to employ an army of civil servants. My books reveal these and more underhand manoeuvres by a coterie of Eton toffs, red and blue unionists, their newspaper barons and a Westminster civil service, all desperate to retain the nation of Scotland under the maw of London control. The campaign undertaken by the wider Yes movement in 2014 saw an increase in 20 percentage points over the course of a single year, despite the unionists using every artifice at their command. Big business, the media, the BBC, Barack Obama, the Queen of England and her daft family, and the defence chiefs. But my few minutes before you today must be directed at one major aspect of the No campaign: the infiltration of the Scottish body politic by undercover unionist forces. And I must insist that these following comments are not paranoid ramblings. They are a factual account of the extent to which the British establishment has gone and will go to subvert the democratic wishes of Scotland. They are all too real. I don't have time today to go into the multitude of examples of undercover mischief conducted by Her Majesty's government, but the killing of anti-nuclear campaigner Hilda Morrell, the shooting of Willie McRae, just as he was about to produce evidence that would have brought down the Thatcher government, the still properly unexplained suspicious circumstances of Robin Cook's death, just after he resigned as the Secretary of State and came out against the war in Iraq, the alleged suicide in 2003 of Dr. David Kelly after being unmasked as the source of the claim that the government had sexed up the case for the Iraq War, and the multitude of killings and crimes committed in Northern Ireland all show unequivocally that the British state is no amateur in the matter of underhand lawlessness. There are 195 countries in the world today, and Britain has invaded or thrown rocks at all but 22 of them. So the British Empire didn't develop following cheese and wine parties and a subsequent measured analysis by nation states of the protection of the British Crown. Rather, Britain has a history dripping in cruelty, the theft of natural resources, slavery, war crimes, apartheid, murder, manipulation and blood. No wonder its flag is called the Butcher's Apron. But as we approach our second and decisive referendum, I want to underscore the extent to which the British state is adept at infiltration. The scale of infiltration of legal organisations is revealed in a database compiled following investigations by the Guardian newspaper, which listed 124 groups that had been spied on by undercover police officers. anti-nuclear, anti-fascist, anti-apartheid, feminist, anti-poll tax, animal rights groups, the Aldermaston Women's Peace Camp, CND, the National Union of Students and the National Union of Teachers were all infiltrated by government spies. They even infiltrated that renowned organisation dedicated to general mayhem, anarchy and the overthrow of Western civilization, the Young Liberals. Stella Remington, the former head of MI5, has admitted that the agency targeted union leaders during the miners' strike. A very senior member of the National Union of Miners, codenamed Silver Fox, was unmasked via an internal police report which stated that the information revealed by undercover agent Silver Fox beat the miners' strike. There's no doubt about that, and that's a quote. And in Ireland during the Troubles, an MI5 double agent called Steak Knife, thank you, an MI5 double agent called Steak Knife infiltrated and became the top man in the internal security unit of the IRA and was paid £80,000 a year, the same salary as that at that time as a UK government minister. This head of internal security was responsible for the murder of up to 40 people. Following the Good Friday Agreement, along with 3 other people, including 2 former MI5 officers and a former prosecutor, he faced criminal proceedings as part of a major investigation, but the Public Prosecution Service decided that none of them should be prosecuted. Surprise, surprise, the infiltration worked a treat. But of course, the shadowy figures in the British Security Service don't always require to silence opposition by means of violence. They can achieve quite the same ends using smear, innuendo and the force of law. Just ask senior Scottish politicians Craig Murray or the Greater Manchester Chief Constable John Stalker, who headed the investigation into the MI5-inspired shootings of suspected members of the IRA in 1983, but when he got a bit too close for comfort, he was merely suspended from duty and removed from the inquiry based on false allegations, then found innocent and reinstated to his police role, but prevented from resuming his inquiries into MI5. These boys are good. These boys are sleeker. In 2015, Prime Minister David Cameron formed the 77th Brigade. It's based at Denison Barracks in Hermitage, Berkshire, and it became operational April of that year, and its stated aim, and I quote, is to challenge the difficulties of modern warfare using non-lethal levers as a mean to adapt behaviours of opposing forces and other adversaries. And I am here to tell you with a heavy heart that we here this afternoon are other adversaries. It is a number of satellite operations, one of which they called the Integrity Initiative, which was exposed 2 years ago. A Scottish registered charity, it lists as its principal address the Gateside Mills in Fife and was bankrolled to the tune of £1 million by the Foreign Office. It then used this taxpayers' money, among other dark deeds, to vilify Jeremy Corbyn and promote accusations of anti-Semitism within the Labour Party. Now, whatever we think of these accusations or of Jeremy Corbyn as a person, it is comprehensively undemocratic to ask a division of the British Army and its contractors to use taxpayers' money to run covert disinformation operations via corporate media and in social media to attack a political opponent of the ruling government. That's the kind of behaviour we've come to expect in maturing democracies in Africa or South America, no in Fife. And it is a democratic obscenity to use our taxpayers' money to employ an army which is supposed to be protecting its citizens, not anyone that charges the Conservative Party. And there can be no doubt that they're engaged in the Scottish situation as matters deteriorate for them. It is incontestable that the people of Scotland want to see the obscenity of nuclear weaponry removed from its shores. Can you imagine the incandescent fury of the British top brass if their playthings were removed? They will do anything to ensure that their nuclear deterrent, as they view it, remains in place. And the only way to do that is to defeat the independence cause. The Russian fleet has to pass Cape Wrath, the northwest tip of Scotland, on their way to the Atlantic. The sea lanes up there are bugged to buggery. Do you think either the UK or the Americans would be happy that Scottish rather than British waters would have to be navigated? The picture which emerges from these examples of Special Branch, MI5, the British Army via the 77th Brigade and the judicial system should cause widespread concern in any democracy. The picture from investigative journalists and disgruntled agents and informers who have survived their interest is even more disturbing. It is alleged that the lives of numerous people have been ruined or sacrificed in order to satisfy what the British state sees as a necessary defence of the realm. And remember the words of Nicholas Macpherson, the permanent secretary to the Treasury, the civil servant who made the economic case for the No campaign back in 2014, who said, and I quote, "In the extreme case presented by the Scottish independence referendum, the rules set down in the Civil Service Code that demand impartiality do not apply." Now, given these outrageous views, what does the Scottish Government do upon the retirement of the said Sir Nicholas Macpherson? They only appoint him to the new Scottish Government Advisory Council, drawing up a 10-year strategy for the economic transformation of Scotland. Just a man to bring forward the ideas necessary to rebalance power and wealth within our society. So I'm not sure if it qualifies as infiltration if you actually invite the opposition on board. So, and I'll finish. If the British state infiltrates the highest echelons of the IRA, the highest echelons of the Miners' Union, all political parties, CND, it is inconceivable that the security services have not infiltrated the highest reaches of the Scottish Government, the British civil service up here, the media outlets, and the independent supporting political parties of all levels. Not to do so would have them be failing at their job, protecting the British state. And as I said earlier, these boys are good at their job. But don't go looking for the obvious villains. I mean, John Swinney looks like a Bond villain, but it'll not be him. He'll not be in their pay. They're much more sleek than that. But as we consider the division within our ranks at any times, whether it's over personality, the timing of a referendum, gender politics, or the handling of COVID, remember that the job of those who infiltrate the movement is to lie, deceive, corrupt, and split our movement. So hold tight to your friends and fellow travellers in the movement, but be aware that your social media friend who encourages you to post something critical of the movement online might be wearing an army uniform. And the guy you share a coffee with at a conference might have his wages paid by Special Branch. But if there's anybody here today from the security services and is compelling a report on these events, don't waste your time, just ask me for my notes. So fellow nationalists, keep the movement united, be on your guard, don't let them split us. Aba Gabra!
We're just going to do a wee quick sound check for Kevin there, I think. And I've got a couple of announcements to make. One, I'd like to point out that Chantel, one of our All Under One Banner stewards, is doing a wee stall just over there. Sorry about that. And it's for organ donation, and there's a big drive this week to do that. I am already donating my organs, but they're probably no worth a damn at the moment anyway. However, if you've got good organs, get over there. She's just round the corner. Chantel went through a double lung transplant 2 years ago with the NHS, and you know, we all need to help each other, so it's a really good thing to do. So it's just round there, a wee stall, you can sign up for it. And enough of me rabbiting on here, I'm just going to introduce our next speaker, who's Julie McAnulty from ISP. Welcome, Julie.
Good afternoon, sovereign Scots. We got here despite Edinburgh Council. Yay. So, this is the first time I've spoken at this august establishment. The next time I speak here, I'll probably be getting arrested. I bet a fair few of you will be as well. But seriously, last night when the news came through of the difficulties and what were we going to do and stuff like that, and I was really, really annoyed. I was exasperated. I'm like, what's the problem? What's the difficulty with us? What's scary about us? What's threatening about us? I mean, look at us. Look at us. Old, young, rich, poor, Rangers, Celtic, all creeds, all religions and none. What is frightening about us? Fellow Scots, that is precisely what is frightening about us. We're all here from all parts, all ages, all different creeds, and we're all speaking with one voice. There is nothing more terrifying to Westminster than people united in a common cause as we are today. Now, I don't need to tell you, several speakers have told you of the difficulties that face us. But I think at this point, maybe it's worthwhile considering that other people have been here before us. And if you'll excuse me, because I don't know this off by heart, but it's certainly worth listening to, these are words that Thomas Paine wrote during the American Revolution and when all looked lost for the rebels. This is what he said. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. We are in a crisis just now. This is our crisis, the Scottish crisis, but this too is our opportunity. And we must remember that many, many nations and many, many people have been here before us, fellow Scots. They faced the same hardships. They had their countries exploited and plundered by Westminster. They were told that they weren't fit to rule, that they couldn't rule themselves. They were told all these things, but all of them found a way through. And today, we are walking that way. It's the same way that they walked, and that is the path of unity. Because when the people come together, the days of British rule are numbered. It was never going to be easy. Never going to be easy. Today, fellow Scots, we march for Scotland. And in the midst of this crisis, in the midst of COVID, in the midst of Brexit, in the midst of the climate crisis, and the casual cruelty that's been inflicted on the poor by Boris Johnson, we hold up those who've been crushed and forgotten and say, we have not forgotten them. We are not the first country to face the predations of Westminster, and we will not be the first to gain our independence. 65 countries, 65 have shaken off British rule. Scotland, it's time we were the 66!
Okay, thanks Julie. We're now going to have a musical interlude. Kevin Gore's going to come up here and give us a few songs. On you go, Kevin. Thank you. Hello. There we go. You've been listening to rumours again, eh? I'm really big, don't you? There's a friend of mine, Ben Arlington, brilliant musician from Edinburgh. Right, we're going to start with a song about right here in Edinburgh town. There's a song I wrote about on my way back down from a late night drinking back in the day when the pubs were open to 5 in the morning, pre-COVID obviously. A wee bit less on the guitar, please, bro. Thank you. Well, I woke up in the morning and I was convinced that I met Robert the Bruce on my way down the Royal Mile. So I wrote a wee song about it. It's called Be a Nation Once Again.
Last night as I staggered home from drinking on the town, I sang a song of Scotland, the king who once was crowned. Then appeared before me the Bruce upon his steed, the lion rampant, flag and shield of the country he once freed. Pull me up behind him onto his horse's back, and we made our way to Holyrood, down the mile into the park. We stopped outside the Parliament of a northern British state, the token gesture powers and the scraps from a London plate. We galloped on through the mist and up into the clouds, to the towns and the cities where poverty abounds, food banks for the working poor, disabled and the sick, an inconvenient truth for the Tory elitist rich. Not why wherefore you said it's not why Wallace played to power and be subservient. Lifeblood was not shed. We fought and died for liberty. Don't let it be in vain. Rise up, stand up, get off your knees, be a nation once again. To Argyll and Butte we made our way to the peace camp of Faslane. For nuclear disarmament we protest and campaign, all the misery, austerity forced by London rule. £200 billion still found for Trident's renewal. Then on to the Highlands, tens of thousands died. Servitude and slavery, colonies far and wide, 250,000 souls cleared from ancestral homes, in a land the aristocrat and the Arab sheikh now owns. We return to the capital of this northern British state. Me at my tenement down by the Cannon Gate. I awoke in the afternoon and wondered I could see his lion rampant, flag and shield placed there next to me. It's not why we fought, he said, it's not why Wallace played and be subservient. My blood was not shed. Fought and died for liberty. Don't let it be in vain. Rise up, stand up, get off your knees, be a nation once again. Up, stand up, get off your knees. Thank you very much. So we've did a song about Edinburgh and other places. So we're going to do a little song about Glasgow, just to even it up a little bit. If we had more time, we'd do a song about Aberdeen and Dundee and Inverness and all the rest of it, but fortunately we've not. There's a song about the Johnson sisters, you may recall, the day after referendum back in 2014. Them and many young people were at Freedom Square, as we call it over in Glasgow, Mandela Square, and they were attacked by a mob of very, let's say, unscrupulous and violent people. They're very racist, very bigoted, and it's something that when we do win our independence, it's something that we'll need to look at and start to educate people in our society to be more inclusive. But these two girls, they refused to be moved. And they stood there with the St Andrew's flag, and eventually it was the police that actually took them away. They weren't driven out by this Britannia horde. Glasgow town, Mandela, Freedom Square, where the fascist chants and racist rants, hatred was in the air. While the old John Bull divide and rule had primed that mob with hate, but could not withstand these sisters. Disagree or had campaigned for a peaceful gain for a country to be free. The Britannia horde, their numbers soared and soiled the Scottish air, but could not disband these sisters in arms or drive them from the square. Against that violent mass, the Johnson sisters stood and held in love the St Andrew's cross, a flag of nationhood. They did not flinch nor give an inch to the mob. They showed no fear. They stood their ground and cried out loud. Remains here. Hey! To the police to intervene and march those girls away. And imprison them in the cells at night for what crime they would not say. Sophie and Sarah Johnston, remember those sisters' names, for they represent a future and to keep the fire open. Bigots that violent mass. The Joe said, still, and here they left the St. Andrew's Cross, a flag of nationhood. They do not flinch, no give an inch to the mob. They show no fear, but they stood their ground and they cried out loud. The soldier remains here. The soldier remains here. The soldier remains here. Brothers and sisters, we actually have one of the sisters over here. Brilliant. Okay, yeah. Right, we're allowed one more song. Tell you what, take the time all the speakers, you know, play a wee bit of songs now and again. You okay with us doing another song? Thank you. There's a song I wrote back in 2013.
Short one.
Short one, aye. So I wrote this in 2013, just on the build-up to the referendum. I was singing it everywhere. So I'm going to still keep singing it until the day comes and we do win our independence. And all these flags I see out there, you didn't bring them along here for nothing. Let's give them a little wave. That's it. Yeah, beautiful. Just to say that Ben and I and some other indie musicians will be playing at the Captain's Bar, South College Street, at 5 o'clock. South College Street. I'm going to dedicate this to the silent clansmen. Marching on the street today with my yes badge on. A stranger, he approached me to tell me I was wrong. He said I was a dreamer. I will let him have his say. Say yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of Independence Day. And when that day comes around, coming well for sure. We will have a country where all can be assured. A nation of equality, fairness and respect. And the government we vote for is a government we get on. Independence Day, Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of an Independence Day. I'm not anti-English, I'm not an Irish or the Welsh. I'm just dreaming of a country that distributes its wealth. Down to the people have opportunity, break the change, free themselves from the traps of poverty on an Independence Day. Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of an Independence Day. And I know I am fortunate, and I know well off I am compared to those in Syria or Afghanistan. Just as soon we imagine by the sea. Set the people free. Independence Day, Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of and you reapproached me to tell me I was wrong. You said I was a dreamer, I would have let him have his say. Say yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of an Independence Day. Let's come on, last time. Independence Day, say Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of an Independence Day. Independence Day, Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of an Independence Day. Thanks very much for having us. Take care of yourself, folks. All the best. Thank you. Take care. All the best. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you Kevin, and remember you can see him tonight in the Captain's Bar in South College Street. Okay, next speaker up is Colin Fox from the Scottish Socialist Party. Come.
Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen, friends. This is a high microphone, I might just take it off. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and diehards for staying to the end. I'm glad you could stay here to listen to what I had to say. The Scottish Socialist Party is proud to be an integral part of the independence movement and proud to reinforce the message that you bring here to the Scottish Parliament today. That independence is about change. Independence is about transformational change. Independence is not about establishing a mini-me replica of the House of Commons in Westminster. This is about real change, transformational change, inspirational change. And we're here today gathered outside the Scottish Parliament, not because we're going to keep things as they are, not because we're going to keep the pound, not because we're going to keep the Queen over there, not because we're going to remain in NATO, not because we're going to remain inside the European Union, not because we're going to maintain the economic and political stranglehold of corporations and finance capital in Scotland. That conservative vision of independence is not for us. Am I right? Because not only is it not for us, we will never win our goal with a conservative message that says we just keep things as we are. My message for the Scottish Socialist Party, and I know that you share it, is on the contrary. Independence means that there will be no more fuel poverty in Scotland and energy-rich countries like ours. No more child poverty that sees 1 in 3 children in Glasgow go to bed hungry. No more poverty wages, the poverty wage pandemic that blights cities like this one. No more economic exploitation of the many by the faceless few. That's what our message here today is about. Am I right? Damn right I'm right. And I'll tell you something. There are those in the leadership of this movement who insist that our priority is to reassure Scotland's middle class that independence means very little change. That it's not the message that we brought here today. And I have to say to you, our movement on the 7th anniversary of the referendum is at a crossroads today. My message to the First Minister behind us is a positive and clear one. It says this. It says there is a majority in Scotland today for independence out there. If we make it about affordable housing for everybody, if we make it about decent wages for everybody, if we make it about defending our public services to privatisation, if we make it about making Scotland more equal instead of less equal, then there is a majority out there in this country today for independence. And may I say this one thing additionally. That also includes a majority in Scotland who want to see a national care service, for example, that is truly comparable to the National Health Service. In other words, it's free at the point of need, is publicly owned and run, and is fit for the 21st century, nothing of which is currently applied to the social care provision we have in Scotland today. And ahead of the COP26 conference in Glasgow next month, our movement sends this message to Nicola Sturgeon, to Joe Biden, to Boris Johnson, to Xi Jinping and anybody else who's coming. And our positive and clear message is that all the proposed solutions to climate change and global warming have to make the lives of ordinary people better than they are just now, not worse, otherwise they won't work. That's the message that Glasgow will send to the rest of the world in a month's time. And how do we make that work? How do we ensure the solutions to climate change make our lives better and not worse? Well, we could introduce free public transport for one thing, couldn't we? A bill that the Scottish Parliament saw fit to see and reject 20 years ago when the Scottish Socialist Party MSPs put it in front of it. But the case for free public transport as a solution to climate change is this: give people a better alternative to using their car, to drive down emissions and reduce inequalities. And another message that goes the same, that says our lives will be better in the fight against climate change if we take back into public ownership our gas, our electricity and our oil industry back into public hands, to eradicate the fuel poverty that is a scourge in Scotland and the modern world, to eradicate fuel poverty and lead the transition to clean energy that this country so desperately needs. So friends, diehards, I have to say this to you: there are three questions our movement has to ask today at all gatherings like this one that take place across Scotland, and they are these. First question we have to answer: why are we behind in the polls? Second question is, if it's because our economic case is not good enough, what are we going to do about it? And the third question is, if Boris Johnson says we can't have a Section 30 order and a second referendum, and he's saying that 600 MPs at Westminster are saying we can't have it, he's in effect telling you and me and the whole of Scotland and the whole of the world that there is no parliamentary road to independence for Scotland. That's what he's saying, isn't it? That's what he's saying by saying we can't have a referendum to choose our future. And I want to speak honestly in front of you and say, I don't have any confidence in an advisory referendum out of this place. It didn't work in Catalonia, it's not going to work here either. And I don't have any faith in a legal action in the Court of Session in Edinburgh against the 1997 Scotland Act. That won't win either. No, we have to face realities. That if Boris Johnson is saying we can't have a Section 30 order via the Westminster Parliament, as that Act of 1997 stipulates, then our message is that our movement is going to have to consider extra parliamentary action. Direct action. Like the anti-poll tax struggle that stood in our way when 16 million people across this country refused to pay the poll tax and killed it off. That's the message in front of us, and I want to say to you that the Scottish Socialist Party will continue to work with all the other parties and all the other organisations in this movement to raise the idea that independence and an independent strategy, we need collegiate conversations. The Scottish National Party and the Greens need to start talking to the Scottish Socialist Party and all the rest of us and bring together a plan that says we will consider extra parliamentary action if needs be. And we intend to be part of that discussion and that debate. The Scottish Socialist Party has proudly supported an independent socialist Scotland, a modern democratic republic for this country for the last 25 years. And if it takes another 25 years to achieve it, so be it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Colin. Our next speaker is Hector Sierra, who's going to speak about the climate and the climate COP26 conference that's taking place in Glasgow, and he's a member of the Socialist Workers' Party. Hector.
Oh, cheers. Thank you. Today has been a good day. Today has been a step forward for the independence movement, and everyone here should be proud of having made possible the biggest demonstration for independence since the pandemic started. But let's be clear about what we're fighting for. We're fighting to defeat the Tories and to break up the British state. That's going to take many marches like this one, 10 times the size of this one, and it's going to take more than marching. It's going to take mass civil disobedience. It's going to take radical and militant action. But what I'm here to talk about is something even more dangerous than a Tory government, and that is climate change. Capitalism is destroying our planet. There's no Scottish independence on a dead planet. The fossil fuel corporations across the world, but also here in Scotland, are endangering our planet and the survival of our species. Global warming, climate change, this is no longer a prospect distant in the future. It's unfolding in front of our eyes. Think about the fires in Siberia, think about the droughts, the floods that we have seen across the world this summer. Independence is about creating a better future for future generations. This is why we're all here today, and this is why climate and independence activists must work together to achieve that better society that we all want. In November, the COP26 climate talks will be taking place in Glasgow. The so-called world leaders will get together, they will pat each other on their backs, they congratulate themselves on their inaction. Let me tell you something, it's called COP26 for a reason, because there have been 25 before this one. 25 years of inaction, half a century of inaction, of broken promises. And this is why on the 6th of November in Glasgow, the COP26 coalition and many activists across the world will be mobilising the biggest demonstration we have ever seen in the history of Scotland to demand action on climate change. But not just that, Boris Johnson wants to use the COP26 talks as a photo opportunity to show the strength of the Union and of the Tory government. Are we going to allow him to do that? Exactly. This is why All Under One Banner is organising an independence bloc on the 6th of November and is calling on the whole Yes movement to mobilise for it. Let's make that bloc massive on the 6th of November. Everyone here has something to do after this rally today. Don't just stand up yourself on the 6th of November. Speak to your workmates, to your family, to your friends, and bring 5, 10, 15, 20 people with you to that demonstration. Because in November, the whole planet will be watching what happens in Glasgow. What kind of message do we want to send to the world in November? Do we want them to see that the majority of us supports independence and the breakup of the British state? Do we want them to see that we don't want to ever live again under a Tory government? Do we want them to see that we reject the racism and the hostile environment coming from Westminster, and that we value diversity and we welcome migrants and refugees? And do we want them to see that we want to get rid of the abomination of nuclear weapons in Faslane and elsewhere and say no to war? Excellent. Do we want a society that will eliminate poverty, starvation, child hunger, and so on, and fight for a really democratic and egalitarian society? Exactly. Well, then let's fight for it, because no one else is going to do it for us. Let's make that demonstration and then block on the 6th massive.
Yeah, Hector mentioned nuclear weapons there. And we welcome Lynn Jameson from Scottish CND to come up and address the rally. Lynn, thank you.
Great, thanks. I'm very pleased to be here. The Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament and the Scottish Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament has supported the independence movement for more than 10 years now officially. We see independence as the way we're going to get rid of nuclear weapons. We want to live in a fairer Scotland that doesn't face the rest of the world with the threat of mass death and the end of life as we know it, but one that is actually friendly and welcoming and prioritises real security. Security like jobs, housing, education, good care, good quality of life. and lower carbon footprint, one that looks after the planet. And nuclear weapons do not look after the planet. COP26 is a very important moment, but so is nuclear disarmament. So on tomorrow, Sunday, some of us are going through to Fastlane, where all the UK nuclear weapons are based, to do a die-in, a symbolic die-in. And some of us will be dressed as sea creatures to make the link between the planet and nuclear weapons. Because the submarines that are based at Fastlane, just 40 miles from Glasgow, on the Clyde estuary, are not only carrying nuclear weapons, they're nuclear powered, and they regularly discharge radioactivity into the Gairloch. And tritium, a very dangerous nuclear element, builds up in the marine environment. Nuclear weapons have never been good for the planet in any sense. They put us all at risk every single day. About once a month, a convoy of bombs comes on our motorways because they have to be constantly refurbished. They're taken off, put on trucks, taken back to the bomb factory, refurbished, brought back again. Go around the M6, come through our towns. That happens about once a month. And the history of nuclear tests that Britain did, mainly in Australia, we still live with. The nuclear weapons states put masses of radioactivity into the atmosphere, which has permanently altered our environment. And some of the cancers that we get, never completely pin it down on that, but that is known to be the case. You never know if your own cancer was caused by that or not. But the whole business is an evil business. And the only reason we keep nuclear fuel alive as a civil power, a civil thing for generating energy, I believe, in this country, is because the nuclear weapons industry needs a critical mass of skills, technology, infrastructure to keep it alive. And so as a nuclear weapons state, the UK government has to keep backing nuclear power. It's time for it all to end. I hope some of you might join me at Fastlane tomorrow. There's a bus leaving Edinburgh at 11:30 from Waterloo Place. It's also doing a pickup in Glasgow. Just look up the Scottish CND website, which is www.banthebomb.org, and you will find us. And we've also got a Facebook page. If you're not a member, join us. An independent Scotland is going to be a nuclear-free Scotland.
Okay, so next up we'll get Neil Hanby, MP.
Hi folks, thanks for coming today and thanks for sticking around to the end, and some really good speakers still to come, so please do. I just want to talk a little bit about where we were 7 years ago today, and whilst we had suffered the disappointment of the referendum result, we really were lifting our gaze and daring to dream once again. And after the COVID pandemic, it's time for us to do that again, to lift our gaze, to dare to dream, to fight for that better Scotland, that fairer Scotland, to harness the energy and the ambition of our people, and to put bairns before bombs and eradicate poverty from our land. Now, where are those ambitions now? Well, I know that they're in my heart, and I'm pretty convinced that they're in the heart of each and every one of you here today and the people in the movement beyond this day. And last weekend, I was out with Douglas Chapman, MP, with SNP activists, with Alba Party activists, with Green Party activists, and activists from no party, taking the message of independence back out to the people. We've got some great resources to use to speak to people, and the interest is absolutely there. People know we're facing the most horrendous winter. We've got the most pernicious Tory government we could imagine, who are not only cutting services, but they are taxing the poorest people and cutting universal credit and working tax credit and forcing poverty across Scotland. We've got a UK Internal Markets Act now that allows the UK government to legislate on every area of devolved power. It's simply unacceptable. And so the next thing that I want to talk about really does pain me, because if we're complaining about legislation like the UK Internal Market Act, then how can it be that our parliamentary corporate body has written to Priti Patel asking her to restrict our civil liberties, our right to demonstrate outside the People's Parliament? It is absolutely unacceptable, and it must be annulled. So I'm proud, on your behalf, to have laid an early demotion in Parliament calling for that annulment, and I am incredibly grateful for my support from Kenny McCaskill, as always, but also to Douglas Chapman and to Joanna Cherry, who have also signed that early demotion. And I would ask each and every one of you to reach out to your MP, to reach out to your Scottish MP, and ask them to protect Scottish democracy, ask them to protect our right to demonstrate outside our People's Parliament. You know, the march to independence is still in our hearts, and no one can stop us. They can blame Brexit, they can blame COVID, and they can try and kick the can further and further down the road. But we need action, and that action has started again today. We've started the conversation last week with the Believe in Scotland Day of Action, and we've started the march again today. Because if we are the movement, then we need to move. And just one final point I want to make. It is unthinkable that a Scottish government, never mind an SNP Scottish government, would seek to scuttle our shipbuilding on the Clyde, and it is absolutely unacceptable that the Calmac ferries should be built out with Scotland, where we have a desperate need for employment, we have the skill base, and we have the yards. So I'm going to have a wee drink and then I'll finish. I need a wet mouth for this. So I want to leave you with a wee quote that is etched into the walls of our Scottish Parliament, and it really reflects our ambition for Scotland. It comes from Walter Scott and Harold Midlothian. I dinna ken muckle about the law, but I ken we had a king and a chancellor and Parliament men o' our ain. We could aye people them with stones when they want to get bairns, but naebody's nails are long enough to reach a London. Thanks very much.
We're just going to have another wee musical interlude at the moment, so I'd just like to introduce Pete Scally.
Hello Edinburgh, hello. It's good to be back up here. Got to do a wee song for Anne and Nancy out in the Indie Cafe. Oh, they've bailed out the Indie Cafe, they've had enough. They've had enough tea for the day.
They'll just need to watch the recording then.
Right, have you heard of a guy called Boris? Wee fat guy, messy hair. Nah, sing along, eh? Sammy called when she got the word. She said, I suppose you've heard about Boris. the right-wing racist Nazis cheer. For Boris the clown, well, he don't know what he's doing or where he's gonna go. He said it's time for leaving, but it's us that's gonna go. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say, Boris, Boris, sitting there for years just trying to cause a fuss. He tells a pack of lies and then he races them on a bus. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say, Boris, trees us at home, we are feet up in our slippers. Boris is on the news, waving a kipper. Oh, Boris, you're wrong. He's a burst mattress that's wired to the moon, a lying posh boy Tory buffoon. He's Boris the clown. Well, let me hear you. Well, he don't know what he's doing or where he's gonna go. He said it's time for leaving, but it's us that's going to go. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say, Boris, Boris, sitting there for years just trying to cause a fuss. He tells a pack of lies and then he races them on a bus. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say, Boris, his stupid hair's on his eyes, so he can't see that Scotland will soon be free. Say, Boris the clown, stick to peddling your bike instead of peddling your lies. Sit back and watch the union's demise. He don't know what he's doing or where he's gonna go. He said it's time for leaving, but it's us that's gonna go. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say, Boris, Boris, sitting there for years just trying to cause a fuss. He tells a pack of lies and then he races them on a bus. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say, Boris, yeah, we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say, Boris, Boris, yes. Thank you very much for joining in. Is there a wee bottle of water anywhere handy? Just get off a dry up here, it's a different weather system or something. Thank you very much. I'm going to do a wee song I wrote not too long ago. Thanks, Chantel, I've got one. Right, quickly, I'm not here for any political party whatsoever. I'm here because I support Scottish independence, and whatever route you choose to go down, the destination for all is the exact same, so stay together, guys, please. I'm going to invite the Silent Klansmen up with me. Please just join me on stage. Yes, Paul, you. Because this song is called Patriots, and this guy's a patriot, so are yous. Please keep up the fight.
We are
Culloden or Bannockburn, close your eyes. Feel the resurgence within you from your countrymen who have died, but they'll take no more away. Stand up and have your say. Come and stand with me. We are patriots, one and all. You can tell by the roar when we answer the call. We are patriots, one and all. We're fighting for Scotland and freedom for all. Thanks for sticking around. Kelly flags in the air. Brilliant. Gaze through the eyes of a legend like Wallace or Bruce, and you'll see we gather with proud Scottish people to fight for our land to be free. And as the time goes by, watch as we multiply. Soon everyone will see we are patriots, one and all. You can tell by the roar when we answer the call. We are patriots, one and all. We're fighting for Scotland and freedom for all. We are patriots, one and all. You can tell by the roar when we answer the call. We are patriots, one and all. We're fighting for Scotland and freedom for all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's hear it for the silent clansman. Come on. Come on. Get it, man. I think have we got one more? Yeah, one more. You want to dance? There's plenty of dancing space now. Come on. Let's get a boogie. Teresa don't like it, this flag I wear. For us it's crazy, because I comb my hair. I wanna free my country, but I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna rock, gonna roll, gonna do it almost every day. Oh yeah, I'm a Scottish rebel from head to toe, but I gotta keep rocking everywhere I go. Everybody join us for good company. Bring your country back, be a Scottish rebel like me. I've been waiting on freedom, I've been waiting too long, but their time is over, so I'm singing this song. All under one banner, hope over fear, man, and forward as one, we're marching all over this land. Oh yeah, I'm a Scottish rebel from head to toe, but I gotta keep rocking everywhere I go. Everybody join us for good company. Bring your country back, be a Scottish rebel like me. Yeah! Oh, I think it's dancing it. Brilliant! Come on! Let me see you go. There's a danger the person next to you might be dancing better than you, so up it a bit. Come on! We're sending a message. We're sending it clear. We're rising up, boy. Our time is here. We'll have a celebration, and we're doing it our own way. And then we'll rock till we drop on Independence Day. Oh yeah, I'm a Scottish rebel from head to toe. rebel like me. Be a real cool cat, be a rockin' Scottish rebel like me. Oh yeah. Thank you very much. Brilliant dancing. Thank you. Love yous all. See you soon.
Hello, Edinburgh. In the 2014 referendum campaign, the Scottish trade union movement, by and large, swung behind the UK Labour Party to back the UK. There were only a few notable exceptions, and my union, the RMT, was one of them. Unlike the other unions, my union balloted its members, it consulted its members, and our members voted yes. Contrast this with the other trade unions who marched alongside the Labour Party and whose leadership as Party Better Together stood shoulder to shoulder with the Tories. They did this in most cases against the wishes of the membership and against the interests of the membership. They were happy, however, to point to the membership and say that we speak on their behalf, when clearly they didn't. They didn't have a mandate for the members. Historically, the trade union movement has been joined at the hip to the Labour Party. And this is because for many of them it was a career path, one that led to them becoming a local councillor or an MP, and in recent years an MSP. Yes, bikers, ladies and gentlemen. By gaining positions of authority, many of them could influence and shape the decisions and directions that their unions took. But in 2014, they abused that position and spoke against their members' interests and solely on their own. They had their eyes fixed firmly on their own interests and getting aboard the gravy train. Many Scottish trade unionists turned away from their unions in protest and disgust, and in doing so they lost the hard-won protections that they had enjoyed for years. Protection from unscrupulous employers who hire and fire at will. Employers whose Tory pals now set the employment laws in their favour and not yours. This cannot be allowed to happen again. The Scottish Trade Union Congress, which is the umbrella body for all the trade unions in Scotland, now backs a referendum on Scottish independence. We know that the trade union movement has members from all parties, not only from the Labour Party, but the SNP, the Greens and ALBA, people who aren't even a member of a party. The yes vote has solidly held up since 2014, and it stands to reason that around 50% of trade union members will also back independence. So isn't it time we had a bigger say in how our unions represent us? As independent supporting trade union members, we must take a bigger part in running our unions. We need to get active in branch politics and activities. We need to be the voice of the yes movement. And once one of us speaks up, you'll see that you aren't alone. There are more of us out there than you think. And by engaging and getting involved, then the next time around, you'll be the ones that are setting the agenda. You'll be the ones that are driving the position of the union, and you'll make sure that your union is not used as a unionist tool. The best and most permanent way to protect us all from Tory misrule is independence. And one day, the Scottish branch of the Labour Party will also wake up to that fact, just like Henry McLeish's woke up to that fact. If we can play our part, then no more will the Scottish trade union movement be at the beck and call of the British Nationalist Labour Party. No more letters and emails will be sent out threatening you and your fellow workers with job losses or poor pay and conditions by an organisation which is supposed to be on your side. No more will Jackie Baillie be able to stand outside Faz Lane
with a parade of compliant trade union officials selling Project Fear 2. That ship has sailed. It's not only sailed, it's sunk. Trade union members in general have better pay, more rights and more protection than workers who are not in a union. Even if you're in a workplace where there's no collective bargaining, you can still be in a trade union and still have the knowledge that when the day comes, and it often does, when you least expect it, and it will come, that when it's you against your employer, it's a little guy against the big corporation, that you've got a trade union at your back and their legal expertise is backing you up. If you're not a member of a trade union and you're a worker, become one. If you are a member of a trade union, become an active one. With independence, we can break free of broken Britain. We can set an example to our neighbours in England and Wales that you can have a fair country with a real living wage and enough contracted hours to allow workers to live off their earnings and not require to claim benefits to top them up. We can have a country where you can have a fairer tax system, where the loopholes are closed and everyone pays a fair share for a better society. Be the voice of the independence movement, and next time we'll win. And we'll not only win, we'll win by a mile. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Final speaker is going to be Michelle Ferns, Councillor Michelle Ferns. If I can just say a few words at the end. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks very much. Just roasting after all that dancing, I'm standing here sweating like Prince Andrew, so I'm going to take my jacket off. Hello Edinburgh, friends, fellow travellers to independence. We've all came together here today, as it says, all under one banner, to say to Scotland and the Parliament behind us that we're still here, we still believe in independence, here, all of us Scots from all parties and none. Not at some point in the future, as some abstract promise in a rosy future where all the circumstances are perfect, but now. Scotland wants independence now, it needs independence now. The idea that we have to ask permission from a Westminster government and a Tory Prime Minister that will never give it is one that we have to give up. We have to stop asking. We have to understand that our sovereignty is ours. We never gave that up when we became part of this union, and we never will. So whether it's independence support being at 70%, whether it's when Brexit is brutal enough for us all to feel the impacts enough to move the soft nose to support for independence, whether it's a Section 30, if Scotland all stands on one leg, faces north and jumps up and down at the same time. Do you know what? No, I'm tired of asking. I'm fed up asking. Section 30 is not coming. What is coming is regressive tax policies like national insurance that will see low-income Scottish families paying more. What is coming is more empty shelves. What is coming is cuts to universal credit, an epidemic of drug deaths, a rise in child poverty, pensioner poverty, and in work poverty. So in other words, all of us. In effect, all of us. So what do we have to do? As other speakers have said before, we need to grasp the mantle of what we did in 2014. This is my T-shirt for 2014. The T-shirt's a bit faded, but my desire for independence is most certainly not. But what do we have to do? Well, we have to work together. Because make no mistake, the unionists in the British state will absolutely work together to lock us out of Scotland out of gaining our independence. So we must do the same. And that means no party affiliation, no party political affiliation, no personality politics, but an independence that works for all of us. As the previous speakers have said before, working class communities right across this country that needed independence in 2014 absolutely need it now. Because there's no class war, friends, it's a class massacre, and we're losing, and we need to stand up and we need to fight. I'm fed up. I'm a councillor in Glasgow. My casework is full of people with problems with poor housing, insecure debt, God. So I'm fed up of offering a counsel of despair. I'm fed up saying these are the things we can do to mitigate and stick a sticking plaster over these severe and cruel welfare reforms come from a Tory government. I'm fed up about talking about protecting ourselves for a Brexit that we didn't vote for, and as far as I'm concerned, we should have started supporting and pursuing independence the day after England voted for Brexit. Sorry, I lost my page. There it is. Well, I'll not keep you going. I know I'm the last speaker, and I will save the rest to last. I know everybody's dying to go home for their tea. Most of anything, I just want to say, in 2014, 1,617,849 of us, I'd say from all parties and none, voted to hold courage over fear, to believe that we could do it. They weren't too wee, we're not too poor, we're not too stupid. Well, we're still here, we're not going anywhere, we'll still be here next year or the year after that, but hopefully here celebrating Scotland as an independent country. So thanks for coming, keep marching on. Scottish women won't reach, and Scotland absolutely will not.
Okay folks, just before you go,